Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. It's Friday, May 18th, 2018. Today I'm going to be talking to Kyle from EOS Vibes. He also has a YouTube channel called The Awakenment. I really enjoy listening to his videos. I'm a subscriber, and I thought it would be great to talk to him about the project and other things. So here's Kyle. Can you introduce yourself, Kyle, and a little bit of your background?
Sure. Hi, Mario. My name's Kyle. Yeah, like you said, I'm a block producer candidate for the EOS network. Our block producer candidacy is called EOS Vibes. And my background is in e-commerce, business, and investing, particularly investing in tech or tech stocks.
I see. So how long have you been at it, investing in tech?
Investing in tech, well, I was quite an early adopter for my sins in ad tech, which I have to apologize for now. All those annoying ads that you see on the web, yeah, I invested in those early on.
Is that like so, double click and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, more kind of like I got in really early with rocket fuel, and then I got out quite quickly as well. Ad tech's going through a really hard time at the moment. I think they overcooked the cake, and they all got way too out of hand. And if you're going to make something annoying for the user, then you're never going to survive. So yeah, luckily I got out of that quick enough. But yeah, I've got experience in e-commerce, tech investing, and business. I've also had standard normal jobs as well. So I'm used to working for other people as well, but no more, thank God.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about EOS because there's a lot of chatter and a lot of people are concerned because of the way they've structured the deal. So before we go further, can you just tell us what attracted you to EOS?
Well, what first attracted me, I guess, was so I had £10,000 sitting in a savings account. The stock market was a bit toppy. It still is a bit toppy for my liking. So I didn't want to do any more tech investing or anything like that. So instead, I looked into the crypto market. And this was just before, again, it's not me being like a great investor or anything like that. Most of it's luck, Mario.
Yeah.
So luckily I got in before that huge rise. So in the summer, I decided to make this £10,000 investment. And what I did was I started with the #1 market cap, and I went all the way down to the list. So I started with Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then #3. And so I was doing, I'm pretty old school. I like to do my research, and I like to make lots of handwritten notes on everything that I'm researching. So I made loads and loads of notes, and I made a big file of all of the cryptos that I was interested in. EOS at the time was about #20.
Was that summer last year? Yeah.
Yeah, this was kind of like end of the summer, so it was sort of at September time.
All right.
But I didn't actually buy anything until late October. So yeah, I was doing my due diligence towards the end of the summer, and that took me quite a long time. And then I eventually got to EOS, which I think was about number 20, 21, something like that on the market cap. And as soon as I came into contact with EOS and I started researching, I kind of didn't go any further from that point, because the more I learned about it, the more I was like, wow, this is such a cut above everything I've read that's above it in terms of market capitalization. So yeah, once I started learning about that, I was sold on it basically, and obviously I researched all the other projects that Dan Larimer had undertaken, and I was quite surprised that it was still quite low down the list.
Yeah, I mean, the way I got into it was through Steemit, because a couple of years ago, Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Vigilante. He made a video about Steemit, how you could post your videos there, and I started using Steemit, but I used it, aside from YouTube as well, posted everything on Steemit, and I didn't really understand how it worked. But eventually, I learned about it, how it works, how it's powered. And then when EOS came out, I realized that it was like Dan Larimer who started Steemit, and I've used Steemit for 2 years, and I make some good revenue from there, and I could see, well, this guy does have a track record. Instead of the blockchain just for social media, he's going to do it for, and you can explain it, but for what it seems to me, it's going to be the infrastructure for decentralized applications, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So can you tell us what differentiates EOS from other cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano, and why do you think it's so special, so that people can understand a bit more?
Okay, so it's very similar to Cardano and Ethereum in the way that it's a smart contract platform, whereas Bitcoin's like a cryptocurrency. So where it differentiates itself is in terms of governance and scalability. So it aims to solve both. So with Ethereum, we all know, I don't know whether you've ever sort of transacted with Ethereum, but I have, and I remember about 3 months ago, it was really, really clogged up because of a tiny little dApp called CryptoKitties.
Yeah.
And that kind of really brought home to everybody how we were all crying out for scalability, and the speed of transactions really needed to be upped quite considerably. This tiny little application that could run perfectly easily on the web is being held up on the blockchain. Well, that doesn't really advance the blockchain at all, really. It kind of makes it look a little bit archaic. So EOS is designed differently, and EOS can scale up. So effectively, it can get up to, well, infinite amount of transactions per second. So it solves that problem, and it's also the governance blockchain as well. Whereas with Ethereum, code is law. Well, if someone comes along and steals or hacks your account, you've got no clawback from that. Whereas EOS has built in a governance structure whereby you can appeal to arbitration, hand over the facts to them, and then they can, if they deem your case to be valid, they can reverse transactions. So they can effectively get stolen funds back for you. If you pay for something through the EOS platform and someone, screws you over, you've got recourse to get your money back. So it kind of has that extra layer on top of what other blockchains offer as well. It's like blockchain with customer service.
Yeah, and from what I've seen by following, I follow EOS. Have you seen the YouTube channel called EOS Go? I don't know.
EOS Go, yeah, they're great.
What seems to me is that there's all these people from everywhere building up the community. It's not like Dan Larimer is doing everything, and people don't seem to understand that. They all have this mindset that, I need to call an 0800 number to get to someone, but it's not, isn't it?
No, and and the community is absolutely fantastic. It's truly global, It really is. So yeah.
Yeah, and let's see. Another question. Another point that people are a bit uncomfortable is why, has the crowd sale been, so long? It's going to take 340 days. We've got 2 weeks left. It started last year. Can you explain why they did that so people understand?
I think there's a few reasons, to be honest. I think it was fairness. They've done it in like a Dutch auction kind of style. And I think the problem with previous ICOs that are done over like the course of 28 days or a month or 2 months is all the whales come in, they buy up all of the tokens, and then they dump it literally onto the market, and you have this huge spike, and then you have a drop off, and then it flatlines. And also the distribution is really bad because the whales buy up. It's a lot more. All of these tokens are, kind of centralized within Wales. Whereas a whole year-long ICO, people have to dollar cost average in over time, and the spread of those tokens is enormous when you compare it to something that only happens over the course of a month. Yeah. So yeah, it does really good distribution. And the thing is, with a good distribution network, is you get a huge community as well.
Yeah, and the other thing it's helped me for me, because I'm more of a markets guy. I concentrate a lot on precious metals, sound money. I was involved in Bitcoin like 2013, but just trading, and I wish I'd just bought it and held more. I was trading.
You wish you were a hodler. So how did you find EOS? How did you get into it?
Well,
and why did you invest?
Because of Steemit.
Really.
Because I've been posting on Steemit since August 2016. So, and I knew about Dan Larimer really well. And someone said, "Oh, have you looked into EOS?" And then I looked into EOS, and I saw Dan Larimer was involved in what it was all about. And it was around the same time as you, October last year. And I thought, yeah, he's got a track record. The other thing about the 1 year thing, it gave me time to read up and understand EOS a lot better, because I'm not an IT guy. And yeah, so I think it helps as well in that sense that you give people the time to learn about it. So what can you explain to us EOS Vibes and what the project is about and how it's related to EOS?
Yeah, so EOS Vibes. So I've teamed up with a group of tech designers, engineers, and essentially EOS Vibes is a dApp developing block producer candidate. So obviously, if you've been a subscriber and you've watched some of my videos, I keep banging on about dApps being the lifeblood of EOS, and the fact is, what we could have essentially, Mario, I believe, is we could have literally a portfolio of companies airdropped onto us, and just for sitting and hodling, not only can we hope that our token price goes up, but we can also hopefully get involved in businesses that are being launched on the EOS network through the mechanism of airdrops. Yeah. And I wanted to help, and be a part of being that, if you know what I mean. I really, really love the idea of the EOS community having shares in all of these dApps, being able to make decisions. Some of them you won't even like, in which case you could probably sell those tokens on, and some of them, like a Steem, if you found that interesting, you'd probably gravitate more towards that kind of business. And I think this whole kind of element of sharing the wealth, I absolutely love it. I think it's the future. I think it's the new paradigm.
Yeah, and dApps, I guess, for people who don't know, are decentralized applications, right?
Yeah. So they're basically just like an app you'd have on your phone. They are literally the same as that, but they use a decentralized infrastructure, which is a lot more secure, and you have a lot more control as well. Yeah, takes out middleman as well.
Yeah, I've already received some EOS DAC, DAC. I've got those tokens now.
Yeah, yeah, I had some of those.
Are we going to be getting your tokens, EOS Vibes?
EOS Vibes, not you won't be getting EOS Vibes tokens, but every single DApp that we produce, we will be using this airdrop model. So we believe in rewarding all EOS token holders. So our first DApp,
you're acting like an advisor to the projects, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm strategy lead for EOS Vibes. And yeah, my job is to basically steer them into giving the most amount of value for the token holder. So our first project is called Higher Vibes, and that's a recruitment DApp. That's going to get airdropped within 3 months of the EOS token launch. We just want to make sure that all the test net, the main net is all set up, and we want to choose the right blockchain, the right EOS one, because there might be more than one, Mario. So we need to make sure that we're on the right chain, and we've got to get all of the legal framework in place that we're working on at the moment. So yeah, we're going to airdrop that DApp onto all EOS token holders Q3 of this year.
Yeah, and I guess all airdrops are going to be different. Some will require that you have more EOS tokens. Some will require that you don't have as much, right?
Yeah. What we want to do personally is we want to just be as inclusive as we possibly can. And that's why we're just going to airdrop to all EOS tokens. You don't need to register. There's no real conditions.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Do you think this mechanism of airdrops could change the face of the funding for altcoins or applications on the blockchain? Instead of having ICOs, you're going to be airdrops are going to be the future?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're always going to need capital to be able to develop an idea. What we've done with EOS Vibes is we've invested our own capital in our first DApp. And what we hope, no guarantees in this game, but we hope that people will vote for EOS Vibes to be one of the block producers, and that will generate us income to be able to produce more and more DApps. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the disruptors within industries to come and join us, because they're the guys that are going to know exactly how to disrupt these industries from the inside. So we're going to try and bring on board them. They can use our engineers and our developers to produce real world dApps, basically. Well, dApps with real world use cases. So yeah, I totally believe that it can revolutionize and take over from ICOs for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing you said about it's a new paradigm for even the system capitalism, because I listened to Brendan Bloomer, who's the CEO of Block One, and he said that the way he sees the future is like there's not going to be a head office or anything, and there's not going to be conflict between the corporation, the consumer, and the investor. It's going to be just a community, and I can see that already to some extent in Steemit. I know there are some people complain about Steemit, but yeah, you don't call a head office. If you have a problem, maybe you make a video and you ask questions, and then people respond.
Yeah, that's it. It's a new paradigm. It's absolutely brilliant, and I'm really hopeful as well. And everyone it's the aligning of incentives as well. Everyone has the opportunity to create wealth together. It's not at the expense of anybody. And going back to the description that you gave about what Brendan Bloomer has been saying, have you seen his triangle diagram where the slice is basically the shareholders aren't aligned to the users and the customers because they're trying to extract a requirement for a level of profit, and that profit has to go up every year to satisfy shareholders and whatnot. Yeah. Whereas if you've got the customer, the developer, and the shareholder are all the same person, all the incentives are aligned. So it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it's difficult to get your head around it, but I think it's, you know,
it flips the whole business model on its head. It's crazy.
That's why that's why the central bankers and the big corporations are not too keen, I guess.
Yeah, well, like I said in one of my videos, America seems to have a schizophrenic relationship with cryptography at the moment. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know. They want the innovation, but they don't want the challenge to the dollar. So who knows where that's going to go, Marion?
That's right. So could you, before we go a little further here, explain how it's going to work and what people need to do if they have the EOS ERC20 token, what they're going to have to do in the next couple of weeks to make sure that you know, they participate later on. Because there's a lot of questions in relation to that about registering. I've done my registration already, but a lot of people, they seem to be lazy. They say, oh, it's too complicated. I want to leave it in an exchange. And I think it defeats the purpose of decentralization to leave your tokens in an exchange.
I do too. And the thing is with blockchain is, I know it's quite, it's like in the early days of the internet. I mean, remember, I don't know whether you remember MySpace or ever used it, but you had to do a certain level of programming to get your photos and your pictures and to change the background of your, you know, wallpaper and stuff like that. You actually had to do a little bit of coding.
Yeah.
And this is to make your, you know, face page look, you know, quite decent. So everyone had to be an amateur coder. And everyone thought, oh, this is way too difficult and this, that, the other. But that then evolved into Facebook, you know, which is everything's done for you and you just like click and move and add things. So I think that's essentially what the blockchain is going to happen to the blockchain. I know it can sort of seem a little bit overwhelming and difficult at the moment with having to register tokens and have to go through these, you know, systems, but eventually there's going to be wallets and ways to make everything a lot more simple. So I think that will get eventually ironed out, but you do need to register your tokens. Otherwise, if you don't, you're at the mercy of that exchange to give you the airdrops. So, you know, essentially the exchange is perfectly entitled to turn around to you and say, we'll give you your main EOS token, but we're not at liberty to give you airdrops or do all of this background administration on your behalf. So keeping your tokens on an exchange, you run the risk of not getting some of these airdrops. And that recent one, EOS DAC, that was quite a lucrative airdrop. Yeah, so you know, you don't want to miss out on these. So register and collect them. And some of them are going to be worth some money, you know.
And you also want to keep adding your EOS, because that means the more EOS you get, the more tokens you get in the airdrops too.
Yeah. Exactly.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, because you made a video about your concern about the block producers being in a certain geographical area. So could you tell us a bit more about that? Because we want to look at not just the pluses, but some of the negatives as well.
Yeah, you've always got to look at those. I mean, what's your point? My view is I was just a little bit worried for two reasons. The first reason was I saw the amount of block producer candidates coming out of China. Yeah. At the time I made a video, it was like 50% of the block producer candidates were coming from China. And the Chinese themselves own a lot of the EOS tokens. So if some of these voters, and some of them hold quite a lot of tokens, if they were sort of inward looking and they were voting for the Chinese block producer candidates, you could end up with a scenario whereby, you know, 15 out of the 21 block producer candidates are, or the actual real block producers, are based in China. And that to me wouldn't work at all. We need a really good geographical spread. In all honesty, I wouldn't want to sort of see more than 2 or 3 block producers in one country. And that goes for China and the US. And that seems to be where most of the block producer candidates are coming from. we need a really good geographical spread, not just for decentralization because of jurisdictional rulings, but also because of latency. The more spread out you are, the quicker the network.
I see. And so, yeah, I've seen as well, like when I look at World Coin Index or Coin Market Cap, Steemit, for example, the token now is traded like in millions in Korean exchanges, and it seems to be a lot of interest from not just China, but like South Korea. And can you explain to people exactly what a block producer does? And also, I think EOS, they're going to have 21 block producers, but at the same time, these block producers can be voted out, and there's like 100 already that are candidates.
Yeah. So basically, the 21 block producers that get voted in, they essentially run the network. So all transactions from all dApps all move through these 21 block producers. So they've got a hell of a responsibility. So when you vote for a block producer, you need to make sure they're trustworthy and they're offering what it is that you want to see out of the block producer. So yeah, they all together produce blocks to run the network, and they are essentially securing the network on behalf of all EOS token holders.
And when, for example, I've got EOS tokens, when will I be voting? When will we be voting on the block?
Right, yeah.
And how as well?
Yeah, okay. So I've reached out to the EOS community, and I did my own digging around within, the contacts that I have within the EOS community, and I found out that they were creating a community wallet. Now, there are other third-party wallets. Block One are not making their own EOS wallet. And the reason that they're not doing this is because they, that whole legal jargon,
yeah.
They cannot be associated with actually launching the mainnet. They have to separate themselves as the developer of the software without actually being the owner of the main chain, the blockchain sort of thing. So they cannot create their own wallet. So what we're having to rely on is third-party creators to develop these wallets. But the thing is, Mario, we've all got to be incredibly careful, because what's the first thing that we need to do when we get a third-party wallet is we need to put our private keys into it.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? So there is only one wallet that I would be willing to put my own private keys in, and this is the community wallet developed by community members that I know of, or have interacted with, or have chatted with. The likes of NS James, who's created Scatter. People like this are involved in this community project.
Yeah.
But it's running behind schedule. I reached out to them, and they said that they would make me a video of how to use the wallet, how to vote with it, how to basically just a quick click-through video of how to use this wallet. But it's running behind schedule. So what they've done is, in order to speed it up a little bit, they've asked for donations so people can donate. I think they're up to and they only did this the other day, and they're up to $12,000 already. So throwing a little bit of money at it, I think will speed it along quite a lot, but it still probably is going to be a bit of an 11th hour project.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But as soon as that I get that video, I'm going to release it on my channel straight away, so people can see. You do have the right to use other third-party wallets, but like I said, there's a risk to it. Unless you actually really trust the person or the team or the company behind this wallet, then just be very, very careful, because you are going to have to put your private keys into it.
What about, have you heard of Scatter?
Scatter, yeah, that's not actually a wallet. It's more like a MetaMask kind of interface.
Oh, okay.
But the guy who's created that is also working on this community project for an EOS wallet as well, and he's a good guy as well.
So the
very talented.
the best thing to do is to wait after June, well, end of June 1st. And it's at June 1st it ends, isn't it? Midnight. And
I think, yeah, I think
keep your private key and your public key, and then I'm sure something will emerge, some kind of wallet.
Yeah, like I said, there's a few different teams working on these wallets. It's just you need to be damn sure that you trust this team, or have someone look over the software. I would always go with the open source solutions more than anything else. So I just want people to be careful with just using any old wallet, unless it's been verified by someone that you trust. Then just be careful.
Do you think Block One and like Dan Larimer and Brendan Bloomer, maybe after the mainnet, they will make an announcement, because they do make a lot of announcements, maybe advising people about the wallet, even though they can't build it themselves?
They've actually made an announcement. They sort of pre-announced. They just said, whatever wallet you use, just make sure that you're happy with its security features. I think they are a little bit worried themselves that some people are just going to Google EOS wallet, and then whatever comes up in the search, they're just going to click on that and then put in their private keys, and that could just be a scam.
Yeah,
you know what this space is like.
But how that they need to be more specific, because I'm not much too technical about these things, and a lot of people aren't either. So how do I know which one to trust? That's going to be important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, we're kind of at that early stage where things aren't quite as simple as we'd all like them to be, right?
Yeah.
It's 1995 in terms of internet years.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are with the blockchain. So, I mean, as soon as I get that video off the community, I will launch that straight away on my channel.
Yeah.
So people can know that is a legitimate wallet. I think a lot of my subscribers are worried about that as well, Mario. Yeah.
So I will put the link. I mean, when you do get that video, I'll put it in one of my videos. Just tell us, I guess. Oh yeah, Hashgraph. A lot of people ask about Hashgraph. Do you think they're going to be a major competitor? I mean, a few months ago it was a big deal and everything, but I feel the fact that they have a patent on it and it's not open source, that it's going to be difficult for them to grow a community.
Yeah, it does look like great technology, but I'm a little bit skeptical when it comes to people who patent this kind of tech. The thing is, we've moved on from that, really. We're now in this open source world. And if you look at the size of the EOS community, it's absolutely ginormous. And that's because they've been very open with everything. They've been open with their software. They've been open with the way that they've ICO'd. They haven't done any backroom deals with whales to get in early and then do a pre-ICO on the crowd sale. They just opened it up, Dutch auctioned it off over the course of the year, and this has built up a huge community. So I think by patenting blockchain technology, I think you're restricting yourself a hell of a lot,
So how big would you say the EOS community is, like geographically and numerically?
Geographically, it's global. It's even in Africa. There's block producer candidates in Africa. There's two of them. So yeah, it's huge. And I think there's over 200,000 EOS token holders that are registered. So it's a big old community for sure.
Oh yeah, there is a question I wanted to ask you, and I think this is going to help people. Can you talk about that analogy about, because some people might say, if EOS is open source, can't someone just take that idea and like destroy EOS, and the analogy of the fiat dollar you did in one of the
So yeah, that analogy, it went down quite well actually. Yeah, it's like if you know how big the American dollar is because it's got such a huge community of users. You've got the oil industry that uses it. You've got all of these smaller countries who their currency isn't very valuable. They use the dollar. Most countries around the world within the vicinity of the US accept the dollar. We can trade stuff in dollars like gold and oil and all that kind of thing. If you suddenly decided that you wanted to create a dollar to compete against the American dollar, you haven't got what they've got. They've got a huge community of users, and the industry is using that dollar. You can't suddenly just come up and copy their central bank system and expect the world to adopt your dollar. So it's kind of similar with EOS, and it kind of brings me on to another point about. Didn't you want to talk about the evolution, the sort of EOS main chain competitor?
Oh yeah, they're using EOS as well, and I'm supposed to be getting an airdrop of that as well.
You will be getting an airdrop, yeah, but I mean, I'm not against other versions of EOS. I think that I'm fine with that. I've no problem, and I've got no issue with it. But I'm just not sure of the requirement for evolution. I'm not so sure what they're trying to do. Do you?
No, I'm not. What they're saying is that EOS is too centralized, and they want to make it more decentralized. They don't think.
Yeah. So I mean, on their video, they've raised like two major points of why they're launching like an opposing version of EOS, and two of the major reasons have both been solved. First of all, they were saying they didn't like the idea of block producers setting their own level of inflation out of that 5%. Well, that's since been capped at 1%. Block producers will receive 1%. That is it. It's been capped. So they're not going to be able to pick and choose, how much of that 5% inflation they can get. So that's been solved. And the other issues they had was they didn't agree with the 6-month staking. They viewed that as like a proof of wealth concept. So, but again, that's been changed to 3 days. So the two things that they were complaining about early on, and they made this whole video about it, they've been solved. And the thing is with EOS is, if the community don't like something, Mario, they just vote to change it.
Yeah.
So
even the block producers, if you don't like one of them,
if you don't like one of the block producers, you just withdraw your votes and they drop out, and someone else replaces them.
Candidates who will replace them, isn't it?
Exactly. So I'm not sure what problem evolution is trying to solve. So we'll just see. We'll see what happens with that one. But yeah,
maybe when I get those tokens, I'll sell them.
Every right to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that covers it for now. Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you, and maybe we can do another one after it goes mainnet and talk about the wallet and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
With you as well about all the possible new dApps that you could be incubating, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few people suggest some to us already. Some guy wants to disrupt the wine distribution industry. There's going to be so many. I mean, we're going to concentrate first on getting our Higher Vibes dApp off the ground, and that's going to take quite a lot of money to promote and market, and it's really quite an ambitious project, that one. And if it takes off, it could be huge.
What is it trying to disrupt, Higher Vibes?
Well, basically, it's trying to disrupt the recruitment industry. So the recruitment industry take quite a lot of money off the company, and they keep all of their information very close to their chest, and they advertise jobs to people without disclosing who the employer is and all that kind of thing. But through the blockchain, we can disrupt all of that, and we can reduce the fee by over half. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give most of that fee back to the job seeker. So they actually get a golden hello for. So it encourages people to use that. People get paid to start a job, which is good for your first month before you get paid. You know, you've got this extra little income coming in from finding yourself a job.
Don't pay as much as either, I guess.
Yeah, and it's cheaper. So
it's disrupting the headhunters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously the extra will go to the token holders.
All right, great. So if you want to listen more to Kyle and his videos, I recommend it. Go to YouTube and type The Awakenment. There's loads of interesting videos. And yeah, it was great talking to you, Kyle.
You too, Mario. Hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.